So, are we traveling 5 hours to go see a NASCAR race tonight? Absolutely.
Not just a NASCAR race, a NASCAR race on dirt.
A NASCAR race on dirt. Because let me tell you something about this video. There's always fans that can travel from anywhere to come see a race. It's not just a local thing. Bristol Motor Speedway. They call it the Last Great Coliseum. It's perhaps the grandest of short tracks in all of racing, with the stadium-like feel that it delivers. So much that it once hosted a college football game that drew about 150,000 people. But for this race in particular, not only is it fun for a race fan to make a one-day excursion or quick weekend trip to a race, this is a one-of-a-kind event that's the perfect blend between tradition and innovation.
How you guys doing?
Good. Doing great.
Weather's beautiful today.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
It's super nice out. Super nice.
Super nice. We have NASCARism here. Glad he finally showed his face. No, dude, no. As you can see, I don't eat too many peeps.
It's April 2023, and indeed, thankfully, the weather did hold up, as my friend Michael and I went to Bristol Motor Speedway on Easter Sunday for the Food City Dirt Race. This race has been built up in the last few years to be a race about not just being a dirt race, but also going back to the roots and the early days of NASCAR. But this wasn't, of course, your typical local dirt track. This was a fun way to place dirt racing inside a mainstream venue such as Bristol, which makes this an innovative quality. This innovative quality also proves that NASCAR has the most diverse schedule out of any form of motorsport.
NASCAR has got to try new things.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, everyone wants to get upset because we're trying out this dirt race. There's other people that say this is a great idea. I mean, let's just at least commend them for putting this out here, trying out a dirt race at Bristol. And when it comes to innovation, I mean, good on them for at least trying something new.
Yeah.
And, you know, we haven't, what was it 50 years since the last dirt race?
1970.
Yeah, I mean, it was, yeah, exactly. So I commend them for doing something like that. And Bristol is such a great place to do it, such a great facility. I've already seen, I mean, where else to do it aside from the track? That's a whole other conversation.
Right, yeah.
I mean, this is a great facility to do something like that. And when it comes to innovation, when it comes to variety in the schedule, there's no sport that does it better than NASCAR. There just isn't.
Many like the idea of tradition, something that has been familiar to fans for the longest time. But in recent memory, it has become apparent that NASCAR needed to be more innovative. That led to decisions such as being more road courses being added to the schedule, new venues such as Nashville and St. Louis being added, as well as a street circuit in Chicago coming this summer. However, for the spring Bristol race now being a dirt race, it creates a mixture of tradition and innovation, like I mentioned earlier. Bristol for many years has had their spring race and their fall night race, and it's been that way for a long time. However, with one of the races being converted to a dirt race, it's able to keep the tradition alive while showcasing innovation.
Well, I just think Bristol's an iconic venue. You drive, and there's not too much around, and all of a sudden this huge track pops up out of nowhere. And they put dirt on it. Some people like it, some people don't, but it's certainly intriguing. It's must-see TV. And then you have the night race, which might be, you know, when I talk to people and say, hey, what race, and they ask me what race should I go to, I say as long as you have some earplugs, come to the night race at Bristol.
Speaking of tradition, old traditions return, such as the old NASCAR race day that once aired on the old Speed channel.
I raced with you guys one summer during doing some
we were making
modified cars.
I remember you getting in my modified, and you ran the heat race, and you come in, your eyeballs were that big because Kevin didn't realize that we had Phase 9 truck NASCAR motors in our modifieds, and you had no idea.
Much like Daytona, Bristol is just one of those tracks you have to be at. There aren't many tracks that give off a vibe of a stadium like Bristol does. The innovation behind this race also really gives a new challenge to the stars of the Cup Series. Many have never even driven or barely have driven on dirt, like Joey Logano and Daniel Suarez. Meanwhile, you have guys who may have an advantage who grew up with a dirt racing background, like Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Alex Bowman, Chase Briscoe, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. It's even invited regular Dirt Series drivers over the last 3 years, such as Jonathan Davenport for this race. Regardless of whether you have a dirt racing background or not, it's offered a brand new challenge to all the drivers. It was a Cup Series race like we haven't seen in the modern era. There was a lot going on, with drivers struggling to control their cars, many cautions, tempers flaring, and hard all-out racing. Pit stops were different too, as instead of having actual, 13-second pit stops, teams were given 5 minutes to work on their cars, which made them have to decide when and whether to pit or not at the end of each stage. This version of Bristol was able to deliver by providing a different kind of racing. If you go back to 2018 and someone asked whether a dirt race for the Cup Series would work, let alone doing this for Bristol, I think a lot of people would say no. It's safe to say, however, that NASCAR is willing to try anything. People thought NASCAR wouldn't go to COTA, but they did. People thought NASCAR would never do a street race, but they are this year. People thought the Cup Series wouldn't go on dirt. They did. Regardless if it's pavement or dirt, it's still the same Bristol Motor Speedway. A track that has had countless memories and stories from the past, and memories and stories that are to be told in the future. As a matter of fact, this track helped bring fans back to the track in 2020 during the pandemic with the All-Star race. Bristol is truly a special place, and it's considered an all-time classic when it comes to the schedule.
There's no track like it. Turn around. It's they call it the Last Great Coliseum for a reason. It's a coliseum. Aside from the LA Coliseum,
Right.
Just added. There's no track that's like this out there. For folks that come out here, this is actually my first time coming out here.
Okay.
Covering the race, and I'm blown away. I come from Daytona, so this place is. I get it. This place is like a mecca almost for NASCAR fans. And Dale Jr. even says it himself. If you're going to go to a racetrack, this is the one to go to, and it means a lot because, again, of course you're going to come out here if you're a race fan.
Like how we talked about how special of a place Daytona is in the last GraySpeed at the track, Bristol is a special place too. Heck, any track can be special that is full of stories. For this Bristol race, It's a story of innovation and tradition mixing together, when worlds collide to form new traditions for the fans and new challenges for the racers. So, was this worth traveling 5 hours to see? Absolutely.